back again. Something a bit different actually. Inspired by, I'm sure a lot of you have watched Jody on welding tips and tricks, and his newest one at the moment, he was doing some very nice seams on an aluminum tank. Beautiful job, way better than I could hope to do at the moment. But the one thing that he showed, which I think his buddy had made and was using, was some way of having a high support. When you, his tank was about 8 inches high, I suppose, so it was a case of having something at that height for following along. And particularly for somebody at my age with shaky hands, to stand any chance of getting a good TIG joint, I need to have support. And instead of getting out pieces of 2x4, this idea seemed useful. So just a quick intro before I do anything. Usual thing, dug around, see what we got. This is a bit of quarter plate. It's 5 by 5.5. It's bigger than I need, but I'm going to use it. And then for square tubing, it'll become clear as mud later what it's all going to do. A nice piece of 1" square, which is, I think it's not an 1/8, it's probably about 12 gauge, I suppose, fairly heavy. And then, having checked out what would fit, tried various pieces of 3/4 tube. It's an easy fit, so that'll do. So the idea is, that end's cut off. I don't suppose it'll stand there for me. Yes, it will. So we'll have about a 2.5, 3" piece at the bottom with wing nut, wing bolt, or some sort of bolt. And then from the base, we'll have an upright. I might even use, oh, this is tube actually. It's got some end pieces in it, but we'll have a tube in the square at the base, and then at the top we'll have another piece of square tube, again about probably 3 inches, and then in the center of that welded on probably another 3" piece to make a T. The idea being that the T will sit up here and be adjustable for height, locking screws again, and equally the T piece will take something for a cross piece, and you can put in sort of whatever length you want. These are all bits I've dug out that actually will fit the square tube, so that was the main priority. So the first thing I've got to do is to clean up the square tube, clean up some other bits, and weld on the base piece, and then we'll go from there. Not sure how it'll work out. It's not hypercritical at all. Okay, we got the pieces cut. This is welded square tube, which doesn't matter at all. I've flat wheeled the whole thing, get it back to bright. And also on the original, I mean this is very much a bit of a copy. I noticed that the one that I'm going by, that the securing bolts were put into the corners, which is fairly logical really, because it pushes the tube into the opposite corner, gives you a better lock-up. And I've got these cap screws. I think what I'll do is put a flat on the corner, get a decent flat, drill through, and then we'll braze the nut on. I think that'll work all right. Now the other thing of interest, possible interest, I don't know whether anybody's ever seen these. For those who haven't seen these, you might notice that the grind is at quite a quite a number of degrees to give a diamond. That means that both of those faces, the ones facing you, are less than 90 degrees to each other. And that means that depending how you set this up, you could take a pretty rough cut, or you could turn the tool post slightly and face off. A lot of options. It'll also take round material, which is good considering I've got all my round stuff. So in theory I'm quite pleased with it, and they give you a little sharpening jig as well. That one is at an angle, that's to get your face angle correct, and this is to assist with grinding for threading. So I'll do a review on this fairly soon, if the heat in the shop allows me, and then after that maybe I'll have the lead screw and nut for the grizzly and start to attack that. Plenty to do. I was going to just grind some flats on the square tube, but I decided I'd mill them. I've still left this huge vise on here for the moment. I've got enough clearance. So I've set this up in on a couple of parallels, and obviously this isn't super critical. I've taken 20 thou off. I've got 100 thou to play with, so I'll probably take another 20. That may be a big enough flat. We'll see how it works out. Take another 10 or so. Well, that should be a big enough. Let's get the air blast. Let's clean that up, and I'm pretty sure that'll be enough. I don't want to leave a bit of material for drilling. I'm zoomed in from a long way off from the mill, that's why I was getting a problem focusing. So I've got 100 thou on the corner. I've gone down about 50, and that'll be enough to braze a nut on, so I've just got to do the others. That's what I'm trying to get over, is not having to use pieces of lumber to get height. But anyway, this is pretty primitive. I'm just brazing, just something to secure the nuts. That's the double one. It's not terribly pretty. I've mentioned before, one of the disadvantages, apart from eyesight, is unsteady hands. It's not good when you get old. Anyway, I've just finished the one here with a single. That needs cleaned up, and then we'll try and get some other stuff welded together, but the weather's getting hot. It doesn't make it easy. I'll just make another pass on this bottom piece. If I can stay steady. That's 3 sides. Well, there's the, it's not absolutely dead square on the plate, but it's got weird light here. It's adequate. And I was using, what was I using for that? Number 6 cup, 2.5 tungsten thoriated. I had the pedal set to about 160, 170, which gave me a fairly good start. Then I was backing off a bit, so I could probably have steel welded it, but I decided to braze. It gives me a bit more leeway. The only thing is the braze, occasionally I think I could get very close to the tungsten and then you get the old green flame. But anyway, this is strictly functional. So the next thing I've got to do is set up the T-piece. Let's get that grooved out. In the meantime, I'm going to go and cool off. It's too darn hot. There's the T-piece. It's not over pretty. So I show you, shaky hands are still a pain in the you-know-what. So anyway, what we've got, that basically is it, although I'll probably give it a splash with paint. Having got several bits of tube, I'll put that one in first and just cinch that up. I don't know whether this plate may have deformed slightly. Anyway, that's not a problem. Let's just... So I clamp that to the edge there, and then we'll put this piece down. I'm just trying to see what I'm doing here. Whoops. I'm just going for an arbitrary height setting. One bolt would probably have done on here, I expect. And let's take this one, do that up. Now this could of course be the other side, which might actually be even more useful. But the idea would be, if I've got something really high, and then we can work along like that, which at least might help this unsteady old man. Nearly used another word. So we'll put some paint on just to pretty it up. What I can do here is, having got several bits of tube, this is an off-cut from I don't know what, so I could put that in just for a short piece. The main thing is getting the height right for the work that's being done, and if in the unlikely event that I had to go right up there, which is very unlikely, more likely it's going to be down about this area, and I think that could be quite useful. I've got various other bits of tube that fit, fortunately. So I'm going to slap some paint on there, and I'll come back and just show you. Then it'll look slightly less amateurish, hopefully. Well, there it is. A bit of paint always looks better. I mean, there's not really much to see because it's pretty basic, isn't it? Not really much involved, but I think on occasions it'll be very useful. It may be I can't set it quite low enough, but I think it's mainly of use when you're working much higher up. And it's just one of those things that would be very handy to have on hand, just to be able to rest and track better. Alright guys, that's that one. I think I said I'm going to do a review of these diamond tool holders fairly soon. It's getting mega hot out here, so I may not be out here again for a day or so. In the meantime, as always, thanks to everybody who subscribes, and thanks for watching.